Sarah here from the Flower Press. Hope you enjoy this garden chat with Petrina Burrill of Petrina Blooms from a few weeks ago in mid-spring Melbourne. Petrina grows quite a few flowers on her suburban block, and she is an absolute joy to listen to on the topic of growing flowers and gardening in small spaces. Enjoy.
So what do you have in your garden this season?
So this season, well, every year I put in around maybe 8,000 bulbs. So this season I have ranuncs growing, the ranunculi just finishing, and the cornflower is just beginning, which is just gorgeous, and they're pinks and blues and purples. What else is growing? Garden roses. I love garden roses. They're probably my favourite flower, hands down, for sure. The smell, the scent, and their faces and all the petals and watching them wake up. So I have maybe 130 rose bushes and counting.
Wow.
And that's the joke. My husband's like, where are we putting them? I'm like, I don't know. So I've kind of started digging up the lawn, but that's okay.
Sounds like you've basically got a flower farm happening there, but you're in Melbourne. How big is your plot?
So the plot we're on, I think it's 690 square meters. So it's just a normal, we're in Ivanhoe, so it's just your normal Edwardian home. And that's why I think when people come into the garden, it's so unexpected. Back it would just be your normal garden, but I've taken on a lot of the lawn, like turned it into flower beds, and it's a real impact. So, you know, I plant close together to get that wow factor. So when the bulbs all come up, you know, and I have maybe only 4 paddocks, but by the time you put all the bulbs in, you know, I always say to my friends, you know, go the impact, more is more. Put more in and clump them together, then you'll get that wow factor. So it is a bit unexpected. Did buy the house for the garden because we looked out the back and it had the bone. So it has a beautiful about 30-foot gum tree in the back corner, and then a gorgeous Gleditsia sunburst that really frames the garden. And then my pride and joy is the wisteria, which I luckily inherited. And I think that would be maybe 35 plus years old. And I take it on every year. I was up there for 3 full days this year, just hanging down the flowers so they would all sit beautifully. The kids like, where's mummy? I'm like, oh, I'm still up in the wisteria, you know. Okay. So yeah, but it was worth 3 days. It was such a joy, such a joy. It's probably something that was passed down, something I inherited, because I remember being really little and walking in my great grandma's garden, and I remember looking up and just seeing larkspur and delphinium and all these beautiful cornflowers. And I probably would have been around 4. And that's a memory I have as a little girl growing up. And I think that's when I really fell in love with flowers. And then her son was the Shire gardener, and he would do the gardens in the country town where he lived. And then mum, of course, just her love for flowers. You know, we always had flowers at the kitchen table, and there was always flowers every night. The dinner table was set with a little vase with anything she could pick from the garden was in it. So that was our memories growing up. And mum always taught us to appreciate flowers. She would stop and point them out. And I remember being obsessed from a very young age. So I've just carried on and probably, gone a bit crazy, but that's okay. Definitely the little cornflowers, and the more they're picked, you know, the happier they'll be. Little pansies, I love pansies, you know, and nasturtiums. They're gorgeous, and the more you pick them, they'll just come back. Especially roses. Roses, you know, the sooner you'll take a rose, that then all the energy will go back into the shrub and will concentrate on the next flower. You know, so I always make sure I cut most of my roses. So I think it's really important. A lot of the ones that I grow from seed, like larkspurs, again, if you cut, that will encourage more growth. And then you've got like the corms and the bulbs, which are just one-off, unfortunately. So you kind of just one snip and that's it. But I just ordered some dahlias, which I'm really excited about. So I've got around 40 dahlias coming. So I'll use the tulip beds and the ranuncs for the dahlias now. And I just planted peonies this year, so I'm a little excited about that. I put 40 peonies in. So that was, and I actually got 3 flowers. So I was so excited because apparently you have to wait 3 years for a flower. But I got 3 flowers. Yeah, I think I cried.
Awesome. Oh, maybe they just are so happy in your garden, because I hear you like to talk to your flowers and talk to your seedlings, you were telling me. Do you think that really works?
Yeah, I reckon it does, Shana. I reckon you just, always just say, oh, you're looking good today, or, oh, look at you, like I suppose, it's just an extension of the love that I have for them, chat away to them. But then I talk to myself all the time too, so probably just a bit crazy.
What are your favourites for long vase life in terms of what you're growing?
Oh, good question. Long vase life. I keep going back to cornflowers. I'm really into the cornflowers this year. I'm just loving them. And some of my cornflowers, they last 10 days cut, I think straight into the vase. Well, I love David Austin's, but unfortunately they don't live too long. I find the old hybrid teas last a lot longer. And the DAs only last maybe 3 days as a cut flower, 4 days at the most as a cut flower, which is a shame because they're so beautiful. The tulips, the fresh cut tulips, again, they would last a good 8 days because straight from the paddock into the vase, a good 8 days. And what you love, I think that would be my biggest thing. Something that you really love, like, oh, I love Daphne. Okay, well, let's plant a Daphne, and I just think that it will come along. If you really love something, then you're inclined to look after it more. I know I have my favorites in my garden, and some things I'm a little unsure about, and subconsciously I think I tend to neglect them a little more than the ones I absolutely love. So just to know, I think I put so many of my tulips and flowers into pots as well, and I have Japanese maples growing in wine barrels, and Mount Fuji weeping cherries in wine barrels. So if you have a small space, you can make magic as well. You don't just need like a garden. You can have a gorgeous courtyard and make a beautiful garden. We used to live in Northcote with a really cute little courtyard out the back, and I turned it into this wonderland. I had a wisteria over the pergola, and you would walk in and look up into it again. I love being able to look up into flowers and seedlings. You get the joy, the prettiest little, most unique, obscure flowers often come from the seedlings when you grow them yourself, like the baby seeds, and you can watch them germinate and just, ooh. It doesn't really matter where you are, you can create beauty anywhere. I used to be a flight attendant with Emirates and travel the world, fly all over the world, and I would come back to my little apartment in Dubai, and I would grow my things in pots, even though the weather wasn't that conducive to the flowers I love. I think you can always have a garden anywhere, which is exciting.